Hello and welcome to the Print Polygraph with our political editor DK Singh. This is Ishadrita Lahiri, and today we are going to be discussing something that has been talked about with regard to the Congress party for the last 2 weeks at least, which is the Congress's saga with Prashant Kishor, which has finally come to an end today and until it revives again, with both parties saying, with the Congress saying that they have offered him to join the party, and he has said that he has refused, and both have said that he has declined the offer. So, DK, so firstly, what was the tipping point? What fell through? Because meetings after meetings over the last few weeks with the Gandhis, with top leaders, what went wrong?
See, there were some drastic changes that he was recommending, and what he had said in his tweet, that more than me, more than the individual, the Congress has to address its deep-rooted structural issues, and the party has to go for transformational reforms. Now, that is a giveaway. When he talks about transformational reforms, earlier, I think last week, he discussed this issue of what PK believes the Congress should be doing. Based on his interviews, based on his talks, I had actually done a copy, and in my politically correct thing, as I discussed all this. So, originally, his idea was to have a non-Gandhi as the Congress president. What he talks about, what he calls the Nadda model. And you have a Prime Minister face has to be different, the Congress president has to be different, because they have, both of them have different roles. But in his presentation to the Congress, in fact, he modified his views, and there he suggested that, Sonia Gandhi should become UPA chairperson. Although UPA does not exist today, but of course, he will be trying to bring them together. So, she should play the role of UPA chairperson. Rahul Gandhi should become the parliamentary party leader. And it's Priyanka Gandhi who should become the AICC president. Now, nobody is saying that this is a sticking point, but of all the recommendations or suggestions PK was making, this was something that was not acceptable to the Congress. And as one of the committee members was telling me just an hour back, that it's fine. I mean, he wanted to be in charge of the organization, he wanted to be in charge of the election management. So Congress had no issues. We were ready to accept those demands. So PK could have come as General Secretary organization, and he would be running the party's campaigns also from now till to the 2024. But then, as Congress leader tells me, that he cannot actually decide, or we cannot outsource our leadership. So we cannot let a poll strategist decide who our leader will be. Now, I think if you ask him, it was a good suggestion by Prashant Kishor, because you have seen Rahul Gandhi, it's just not clicking. And the Congress might not have announced him or declared him the prime ministerial candidate in 2014 or 2019. But he was the face of the party, and nobody had to ask for the prime ministerial face, because he was there, even if he was not declared formally. He has failed. Now you have to try out something else. So, a non-Gandhi as a Congress president would have actually done better, but PK knows that in the Congress, to be accepted in the Congress, you have to accept their role. So instead of saying that, okay, remove all Gandhis and bring a non-Gandhi as Congress president, he wanted to change the face, and he wanted to make Priyanka Gandhi the Congress president. That became the sticking point. If you recall, in 2017, Uttar Pradesh elections also, which Prashant Kishor was managing for the Congress, he wanted Priyanka Gandhi to be declared as the chief ministerial candidate. Congress didn't agree. And after that, they fell apart, and Prashant Kishor went to, make strategies for other parties. Back again, he wants Priyanka Gandhi as the Congress president. That did not find favor with the Gandhis. So, although you will hear a lot about, how his negotiation with the TRS was the sticking point, because yesterday only he met KCRs in
over the weekend. I think he stayed.
Yeah, earlier also, and yesterday, in fact, he sealed the deal. What Congress leaders are telling me now, leaders who are part of the committee which studied the recommendations or the blueprint of Prashant Kishor, they are saying that Prashant Kishor had told them that okay, IPAC was talking with the TRS, but that's fine. I'm putting these things on hold until you decide what you want me to do in the Congress. He was ready to come with the IPAC or without the IPAC to help out the Congress. Congress had to take a call, and he said he was putting it on hold. But yesterday he went there,
No, I think on Sunday the deal was finally
But
signed.
yesterday evening he met. He met all these people. So once the Congress also realized that, okay, because yesterday when they formed this empowered action group, now that was something Prashant Kishor had suggested.
Okay.
It was his suggestion which the party accepted. So when yesterday Sonia Gandhi declared the empowered action group, the idea was that PK would join it. Instead, he was not happy with the way all his suggestions were, and many of his suggestions were rejected. When you talk about transformational reforms that he talks about, change of leadership, that was not accepted. I think that was the time when he decided, fine, I would rather go ahead with the TRS. But that's not the real trigger. Trigger is the leadership issue.
So for the Congress right now, with the talks around Prashant Kishor over the last few days, especially coming at a time when they suffered terrible defeats in the last 5 assembly elections, there was this talk that Prashant Kishor is coming to revive the party. There's Congress is on revival mode. There's a roadmap that has come in, and even if not with the senior leadership, it enthused the party cadre, some sections. Even generally, there was a lot of talk about the Congress revival. So, what happens to that revival plan now? Now that Prashant Kishor is not here, what is Congress's plan?
Look, now, as you reported yesterday, now they're going to hold this Chintan Shivir in Udaipur for 3 days, 13th to 15th. They'll be discussing, but you have watched the party. The sense you get it's bereft of any ideas. I mean, how to go about it. Election after election, they talk about reviving the party and nothing happens. So the same set of people, what new will they do in Udaipur to revive the party? This is where Prashant Kishor came in, and in fact Prashant Kishor has given a 600-page recommendation. Probably the party, Prashant Kishor is out, but all his ideas are with the party. So maybe the Congress,
his homework.
maybe the Congress will start acting on his suggestions now in his absence.
And that was actually a joke going around in AICC that now that we have the presentation, why take the man?
Exactly.
Okay, so there are lots of questions actually coming in, so I'll just take a few to you. Sankalp, who's been a member for 6 months, he's saying that PK tweeted, "I declined," after much gaga and fanfare. For a party that has already lost the perception war, do you think this would add insult to misery? Is INC the new political untouchable?
Not untouchable that way, but yes, I broadly agree with you on all the points you are raising. Untouchable in the sense you are saying the other
that no one wants to work with,
maybe, but don't forget, I mean, doors are not closed yet.
No, and also
so right
PK
now,
did show interest in
and for the last
Congress,
2 years he was negotiating with them.
Yeah.
So many times talks broke down, but last year between May and September they had several rounds of negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, it was similar to what happened
on
now.
what to do.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to say for sure that it's over.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So this whole saga between Congress and PK, what does it say about the Congress and what does it say about PK? Because the way things fell out, there is commentary on both.
It's again this realization. One is how you revive the organization. As an organization, as PK was suggesting, he was saying from block level to district and PCC levels, you have to have committees, you have to have the organization in shape. Just as, yesterday you saw in BJP, for instance, 2024 is, 2 years away. And they are already working on 73,000 booths where they think they are weak. So BJP is thinking so far ahead. What is the Congress doing? They are still negotiating with a poll strategist who is giving them a revival plan, and everything is acceptable except the role of the Gandhis. But point is, that is the biggest question for the Congress today. Are you okay going ahead with a Gandhi as a face? Is Rahul Gandhi going to be your face in 2026 also? I mean, that's a big question. In 24 also. So you, as PK says, and many commentators have been saying, what the Congress is doing is they try to do the same thing over and over again, and expecting different results. That's stupid. It doesn't work that way.
But just to play devil's advocate, sir, like again, something that we've heard across the AICC once this whole 600-page presentation was doing the rounds, which is that a lot of the suggestions that PK had suggested, including the one about the leadership, a lot of it had been suggested, say, by the G23 and even internally within the party. So within the party also there was a question that these suggestions were already made. So what's the point of getting Prashant
G23
Kishor
had made some big suggestions. G23 did not have any issues with the Gandhi as such. At least that's what they say. Internally, they may have, but they're not asking for that. They wanted a full-time president. They wanted accountability to be fixed. So as PK has been saying it from public platforms, that if the Congress is saying we are not able to communicate with the people, so communication is our biggest problem. Then how can you have the same communication head, Randeep Surjewala, since 2015? For 7 years, if either your diagnosis is wrong, probably communication is not a problem, but if you think communication is a problem, then you will have to change people who are in charge of the communication department or who are actually doing the communication work for you. So you cannot say that also, retain him also. So these kind of disruptions would happen if the Congress were to accept this. Now, if PK becomes General Secretary Organization, now General Secretary Organization is KC Venugopal, who is again very close to Rahul Gandhi. So he is talking about dismantling the setup around the top leadership.
In fact, the entire top leadership that he was suggesting, like if PK did become General Secretary, then lots of people close to Rahul Gandhi, KC Venugopal, Randeep Surjewala, all of them would not probably have the
so
position
that was
they're having.
So it was not just about G23. Talking about G23, what they wanted this parliamentary board, which was actually scrapped during the Singh time, to come back. Then they wanted a central election committee, CWC. No, these are things which would somehow weaken the leaders, the Gandhi's hold on the party. Because if you have a parliamentary board, you have a central election committee, again which draws members from the parliamentary board. You have an elected CWC. So you cannot be dropping people, and people can air their views on bigger platforms. So Gandhis won't have their way the way they have been doing now. The entire things will change. PK is not going there yet. What he is saying, or he was saying, is that this is how you revive the organization, this is how you build the party from booth to the top level, and you remain there but with a fresh face. So probably Rahul has, he has been tested for long enough.
To be polite,
get a new face, maybe another Gandhi, but she will be a new face. She won't be carrying the baggage that Rahul has. You accept it or not, somehow this, what you call puppification of Rahul Gandhi, which I think is a bit unfair. But then this has happened. So you go to people now and you ask them. I was telling you who I was talking to. I was in Karnataka, I was in front of a hostel. I was talking to 5-6 boys. I asked them, okay, give me 5 prime ministerial candidates that you have in mind. They were talking about everybody except Rahul Gandhi. Then I asked, nobody talked about Rahul Gandhi. They were giving some names from the Congress, but not Rahul Gandhi. The moment I said Rahul Gandhi, they started laughing. So if that has become your image, that people just laugh it off, it's very difficult to come back from there. So you have to do something drastic about this phase. I mean, some drastic decisions have to be taken. The Gandhis are obviously not willing to do that.
So coming to some immediate challenges in front of the Congress party now. So obviously then there's the Chintan Shivir, then there are organization elections that start. And once they end sometime around August, September, then the party has the Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh elections to look to. So Rohan Navalkar, a new member of ours, he's asking, what will it mean for the Congress in Gujarat, this PK deal falling off? Because there were talks that PK is potentially speaking to Naresh Patel and bringing him towards the Congress. So what does it mean for the Congress in Gujarat now that PK is gone? And secondly, he's added another thing to this, which is, was PK demanding too much from a party like the Congress? Like in terms of the changes he was suggesting, and even in terms of the position he wanted to take?
Yeah, in the context of the Congress, it was probably too much for him to ask for a change of leadership. You know how Sonia Gandhi has been batting for Rahul Gandhi all through. She wants him to become to come back as party president. She wants him to become the prime ministerial face. He wants to change that. So that's, you can say it's like demanding too much. There were other issues also. For instance, PK suggested I can come with IPAC to the Congress. But then that will enroll about 5,000 volunteers. 5,000 people will be working for the iPath. On an average, their salary would be, it will cost you about 1 lakh rupees per month per head. And he was even telling them, fine, I mean, I'll also help you collect some funds. So he was putting all these things on the table. So it was not impossible. So where he was demanding too much was the change of leadership. Even though he was talking about a Gandhi, basically telling that, okay, now you start launch a new Gandhi.
New era of Gandhi.
So which was not acceptable to
And
the
what
Gandhis.
about, Gujarat, Naresh Patel? How will that
Gujarat, see how PK thing will work is, as you see, like there is no preparation by the Congress in Himachal Pradesh or Gujarat. They are just sitting here. Rahul Gandhi is traveling abroad again. There is nobody here who is monitoring what's happening in Himachal or Gujarat. You see Aam Aadmi Party going there. I mean, you have seen Kejriwal holding rallies in these states. And AAP is emerging as a challenge. And from the Congress, they are just sitting there expecting the people to vote them back into power. It's again that sense of entitlement that, people must regret the fact that, they did not elect us. So we are the real rulers. We only know how to rule. And people are so stupid that they don't know. So they should first realize and then repent and vote for us. This is what the Congress strategy in these two states has been so far.
So in that context again, Sankalp, who's our member, has a question for you. He says, hello DK, everyone wants the Gandhis to take a back seat. But my question is, back seat to where? The Nadda model is basically a popular face plus a strategist. But we know that INC has no mass leader. So who should the party market and how can they market themselves?
PK was actually, he was not talking about the face. Face would come later. It was about building that narrative. So first you have to see what the BJP is doing. Right now what the Congress is just reacting to what the BJP does. For instance, the Prime Minister has spoken about this. Amit Shah has spoken about this. They are talking about the CAA again. The rules will be notified. Again, you will see this huge debate happening in the country. And Congress would be actually in the back foot. They are talking about uniform civil code. Have you heard anything from the Congress so far? Congress does not want to take any stand. So basically the BJP drives the narrative and Congress is always kind of, looking for cover here and there. So there is no conviction as such, ideological or otherwise. So Prashant Kishor would at least set that right. This is what you stand for. This is what you speak. Right now, nobody wants to stand for anything in the Congress. And organizationally, from 2007 onwards, I have been hearing from Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi. Every time they lost UP, Rahul or Sonia would come in front of the camera. Well, we'll change it. There were organizational weaknesses. Next time you will see, we'll fix it and we'll come back. It didn't happen. What I remember, I think, after one of the elections, 2013 or when, one round of assembly elections was over, where Congress did very badly. Rahul Gandhi came out. You will see, I will change the Congress that in such a way that you cannot imagine. Yeah, he had changed the Congress which we did not imagine, but not the way I think he meant he wanted to. So nothing happens.
So I think Aditya had a similar question, which I think DK sir has answered, which is what is the major issue in implementing a non-Gandhi president? Another small follow-up question to that, after which we'll move to a different set of questions about Prashant Kishor, which are being asked. Aditya again asking, do you think someone like an Ashok Gehlot or a Bhupesh Baghel, who are Gandhi loyalists, might be considered for the post of president, especially given that elections are coming, but also Aditya, like they are chief minister, they are elected chief ministers.
That will work. So when Prashant Kishor talks about Nadda model, what he is saying is, looking at the same or somebody from the Gandhi all the time, same Rahul Gandhi, same Sonia Gandhi taking all decisions. People are losing faith. So give them a new face. So he changed that Nadda model. He is now saying Priyanka Gandhi, but then some change. This is what he was wanting. Ashok Gehlot. First of all, why would Ashok Gehlot come here anyway? Or Bhupesh Baghel come? But anyway, you change anybody because Congress has not lost it on the ground. You look at the votes they got. From 2014 to 2019, Congress did nothing in fact. But they've total number of votes. In 2014, they got 10 crore votes. In 2019, it went up to 12 crores. So they retained their vote bank and added 2 crores more. So there are people who are voting for the Congress. There are people who are voting against the BJP. But you have to come up as a credible alternative. You can't be sitting back and expecting people to, leave the BJP and other parties and come to you.
So we are also getting a lot of questions about Prashant Kishor's future. So he has declared after the 2021 elections in Bengal that he has quit the consultancy space. He's also said that he has quit IPAC and stayed away from it, even though we saw him, with the recent TRS deal also with KCR. So Rami Reddy is asking, what do you think Prashant Kishor's future is going to be? And I'll just add in a few more questions with that so that you can answer them all together. Second, Prajapati Akash is asking, why has PK not entered active politics yet? And a third question from Venki, who's also a member of ours, who's asking, is Prashant Kishor and the Prashant Kishor model slightly overrated? Because there will be a trust factor when someone who's seriously talking to the Congress is at the same time, going and staying over, having a sleepover with KCR, who is the principal opponent of the Congress in Telangana.
Coming to the first point first, he did join active politics. He became JDU vice president. Then he fell out, and then he wanted to basically launch his own outfit, as he indicated, in fact, saying that, he'll be bringing together all youth in Bihar. So whether he is going to take a political plunge again in Bihar, that we have to see. He was trying to do it through the Congress. If it hasn't worked out so far. If it doesn't, we don't know whether he'll take a political plunge. But he does want to be part of a political party, or he launches his own outfit. That we'll see. We don't know yet. Because otherwise, IPAC will be working with the different parties. And he is associated with IPAC also.
So it will be the same old
it will continue, but the new thing will be whether he goes back to Bihar and launches his party. That we'll have to see. What was the second point?
Second question is whether you think he's overrated in the sense
overrated, fine. See, Prashant Kishor basically drawing up strategies for other parties. Right now, he doesn't belong to any party. So obviously he will go and work for the party which engages him. But in this case, for instance, he wanted to join the Congress. He in fact wanted to bring the IPAC to the Congress. So once he joins a party, starts working for it, it's a win-win deal for the Congress. You cannot be thinking about, that you were working for somebody else. You have many Congress state presidents today who came from the BJP or for some other party, and they went on to become a state president.
No, but like Venki has asked, is there a trust issue? Especially in the context of this whole TRS thing that happened. Is there he's asking, how can you take someone seriously when he offers two competing factions like TRS and Congress in the same state?
No, he wouldn't have gone to the TRS. As we discussed earlier, he was saying that I am putting that negotiation on hold. You decide. And if you accept what I am suggesting, then I and IPAC will come to you. So IPAC would not have gone there if the Congress leadership had shown some kind of decisiveness. That, okay, you come, this is what we have accepted, and we are ready to make the changes or transformational reforms that you are talking about. We are ready to go for it. I think he would have stayed, he would not have gone to the TRS. Because if you join a party, obviously you won't be working for some other party. That won't have happened. But it doesn't mean that you are not taking any decision about me and you are blocking my other moves also. It doesn't work both ways.
So, talking about the puppification of Rahul Gandhi and just generally the perception of the Congress that we were talking about earlier, and these are the last few questions we'll take. How do you think perceptionally this is going to play out for the Congress? Is it going to seem like they've taken a strong move to not outsource their party? Or is it going to be seen badly for them, where there was a revival plan in hand, but you decided to not?
I don't know how people will look at it, but as I look at it, it's like the Congress wasting another opportunity. How it could have engaged Prashant Kishor, in what capacity, it's a different deal. But at least there would have been some changes in the way the party functions, in the way that the leadership functions. He would have brought those changes in the party. But now you see that, okay, party has given up again, back to old routine. So yes, it will kind of give some negative perception that party is not ready to change.
DK, the last question to you. Now that this has ended, now again revival talks have been stopped for the time being. Till Gujarat, till the end of the year, top 3 things you think that the Congress most definitely needs to do if it needs to be in any kind of salvageable position in Gujarat and Himachal, or even for 2024.
Top 3, I don't know. First of all, they have to be seen on the ground. They are not being seen. The organization is in a shambles in both these states. Now you have Hardik Patel. All of you must be reading his comments nowadays. That central leadership has to engage him. He is fighting with the state leadership. You brought Hardik Patel into the party as somebody, big patidar leader. He was made a working president, but he is not being allowed to work. Who will be the chief ministerial candidate in Gujarat? You don't know. You are talking about Patel. But that was Prashant Kishor's recommendation. But who do you have in mind if not Patel? So you have to work on that narrative. From Gujarat, the Congress has been missing. They have been just holding press conferences. You have
for
to
their cadre, the cadre also seems so unenthused in so many states, which I mean,
everywhere across the country. So what PK would have done was to, he would have started doing things. As he says, for the last 20 years, tell me one agitation that the Congress launched and which continued for 72 hours even. No agitations on the ground. Cadre is kind of sitting quiet at home because there is no instruction from the top. You look at the BJP. I mean, all the time they keep the cadre busy. There are new programs, new assignments all the time, and so they are enthused all the time. So I won't say what 3 things they will need to do, but first of all, they have to be seen, they have to build some narrative, they should know what they want to do. I don't really see anybody putting their heads together to see what's going wrong or right in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat and what to do about it. Nobody is thinking, just waiting for the elections to happen. They'll go make speeches during the campaign, come back and leave it to the people. Today's politics don't work this way.
And unfortunately, that is something that has been plaguing the Congress party for a very long time, and it's something that everyone across the board, irrespective of ideological dispensation, has said about the party. So again, the party finds itself back to square one, and Prashant Kishor finds himself back to square one. However, the party still has to fight elections and Prashant Kishor doesn't. So what steps the Congress party is going to take after this, that's something that we'll wait and watch. Again, important things coming up, the Chinta Shivir, the organizational elections. How will it fare in Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh and in the state elections after that? And finally, 2024, all of that, we will be getting you all the latest updates here at The Print. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Polygraph with our political editor, DK Singh. And we hope you'll join us for the next episode. Thank you.